Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a question that I think we've all pondered at some point.
Uh-huh.
What happens when the very things that got us to a certain level of success
Yeah.
start holding us back from going further?
Mm-hmm.
You've shared some excerpts from Marshall Goldsmith's "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Right.
And I have to admit,
Mm.
the title alone hooked me.
Mm.
So are you ready to unpack some of these success traps with us?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Goldsmith's work is so relevant because it flips the script on what we often assume about success.
Right.
We tend to think it's a linear path.
Uh-huh.
But he argues that the higher we climb,
Yeah.
the more we need to adapt and evolve.
Right. It's like the skills that got us to base camp aren't necessarily the same ones we need to summit Everest.
Exactly.
What's fascinating is that Goldsmith doesn't just say change or fail.
Right.
He dives into the why.
Yeah.
Why it's so hard for successful people to see their own blind spots.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
He points out that successful people often develop certain beliefs.
Okay.
I have succeeded.
Okay.
I can succeed. I will succeed.
Right.
Which, while positive on the surface,
Yeah.
can create some sneaky traps.
Okay, let's dig into these belief traps a little deeper.
Sure.
Starting with, I have succeeded. Now,
Right.
believing in your past accomplishments isn't inherently bad,
Right.
but where's the potential pitfall here?
The danger lies in assuming that what worked in the past will always work.
Right.
This belief can make us cling to outdated behaviors, even when they're no longer serving us well.
It's like that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room,
Hmm.
you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Could it be that I have succeeded makes us want to stay in that smartest person room,
Yeah.
even when it limits our growth?
That's a great analogy. Goldsmith uses a story about a CEO named Harry, who's a notoriously bad listener.
Oh, interesting.
What's striking is that Harry actually believes his poor listening is key to his success. He calls it filtering out bad ideas to protect his fertile brain,
Okay.
even bragging that he doesn't suffer fools gladly.
Wow. Talk about a lack of self-awareness. But it makes you wonder, why would someone like Harry,
Right.
clearly intelligent and successful,
Yeah.
cling to such a counterproductive belief?
This is where the concept of cognitive dissonance comes into play.
Okay.
It's a psychological phenomenon where we feel discomfort when our beliefs clash with our actions.
Okay.
So to reduce this discomfort,
Yeah.
we might rationalize our behavior,
Uh-huh.
even if it means twisting the facts to fit our narrative.
So for someone like Harry, admitting that his bad listening is a problem would challenge his entire belief system, right?
Exactly.
It'd be like admitting that his success wasn't entirely due to his own brilliance.
Exactly. And this resistance to changing our beliefs, even when faced with evidence to the contrary,
Yeah.
is a major obstacle to growth.
Right.
It's like trying to upgrade a computer with outdated software.
Uh-huh.
You need to be willing to install the new program,
Right.
even if it means letting go of the familiar.
Okay. On to the second belief trap.
Okay?
I can succeed. This one seems pretty empowering on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
What's the potential downside here?
The risk with I can succeed is that it can easily morph into overconfidence.
Right.
We start believing we can conquer any challenge without fully assessing the risks or seeking input from others.
It becomes a been there, done that mentality, right? Like,
Yes.
I've succeeded before, so I'll automatically succeed at this too.
Precisely. And that can lead to missed opportunities for learning and growth.
Right.
Goldsmith uses a great example of a baseball player who hits a home run
Okay.
and attributes it entirely to his skill,
Okay.
ignoring factors like the pitcher's mistake or even luck.
It's like taking all the credit for a group project when you only did half the work.
Exactly.
Not a good look.
And it prevents us from recognizing areas where we can improve.
Right.
Imagine if that baseball player, instead of basking in his perceived brilliance,
Yeah.
took the time to analyze the situation.
Uh-huh.
He might realize that he could adjust his swing
Okay.
or improve his timing,
Right.
which could lead to even more home runs in the future.
Okay, let's move on to the final belief.
Okay?
I will succeed. Now,
Yeah.
this sounds like a fantastic motivator, especially when facing tough challenges.
Uh-huh.
But how can this belief turn into a trap?
I will succeed, when taken to an extreme,
Yeah.
can lead to overcommitment
Yeah.
and an inability to say no.
Right.
We end up spreading ourselves thin,
Yeah.
taking on too much,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially sacrificing our well-being in the process.
It's like we become addicted to the feeling of accomplishment,
Yeah.
constantly chasing the next win, the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
without pausing to consider the costs?
Exactly. Goldsmith calls this the overachiever trap.
Right.
We're so focused on proving ourselves that we lose sight of what truly matters. And that brings us to a crucial point.
Okay.
True success involves more than just external achievements.
It's also about personal happiness,
Right.
meaningful relationships, and living a fulfilling life.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly.
Between striving for success and nurturing our well-being. Between achieving our goals and living a life that feels aligned with our values.
Exactly. And that involves taking a hard look at our behavior and identifying the habits that might be hindering our growth, both professionally and personally.
And that's where Goldsmith's 20 annoying habits come into play, right?
Absolutely.
Habits that on the surface might seem harmless or even positive, but can actually sabotage our success in relationships.
Absolutely. And while we won't go through all 20 today,
Right.
let's unpack a few that might resonate with you, our listener, as you think about your own experiences.
I'm curious, what's a habit that we might be guilty of without even realizing it?
One that often trips people up is adding too much value.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking, how can adding value be a bad thing? Right. It sounds like something we should all be striving for.
The key here is how we add value.
Okay.
Goldsmith points out that constantly needing to chime in, give advice, or improve on others' ideas, even when unsolicited, can backfire.
It's like that friend who always has to one-up your story, right?
Exactly.
Or the colleague who turns every brainstorming session into a lecture.
Exactly. Goldsmith tells this great story about a chocolate maker who, with good intentions, tried to subtly steer Bill Blass's choices when designing a chocolate sampler.
Okay.
To their surprise.
Yeah.
Blass loved the inferior chocolates they thought he'd reject.
Wow.
The point is, sometimes the best way to add value is to simply listen and let others make their own choices.
So resist the urge to always be the expert in the room, the one with all the answers. Sometimes the most valuable contribution we can make is to just shut up and listen.
That's right. And that leads us to another subtly damaging habit. Passing judgment. Think about it when someone asks for your feedback.
Yeah.
Do you truly listen with an open mind? Or are you already forming an opinion, ready to offer your critique?
Ooh, that's hitting a little close to home.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I'm a chronic overthinker. Even when someone is sharing something positive, my brain is already jumping ahead, thinking, but have you considered this angle?
That's a common trap. And even when we agree with what's being said, our tone or body language can reveal that we're evaluating the other person's thoughts, which can make them feel judged and hesitant to share openly.
So it's not just about what we say, but how we say it.
Exactly.
Even a seemingly innocent, oh, interesting, can be loaded with judgment. Right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about creating a space where people feel safe to share their thoughts without fear of being evaluated.
Right.
Instead of jumping in with our own opinions, we can practice responding with neutral acknowledgement.
Okay.
Like, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Simple but powerful.
Okay. On to a habit that's a bit more, well, let's just call it what it is. Destructive.
Okay.
Making destructive comments. We all know those people who love to gossip and tear others down. But how can we catch ourselves if we're slipping into this habit? Because I think we've all been guilty of it at some point.
Absolutely.
We might think we're just venting or being funny.
Yeah.
But those offhand remarks can have a real impact.
They do.
Goldsmith shares a personal story about his own struggle with this habit.
Right.
Where he would make negative comments about people behind their backs.
Yeah.
And didn't he try to break this habit using a $10 penalty system?
He did. And while it created some amusing situations with his staff trying to bait him into paying up,
I bet.
It highlights how these seemingly harmless comments can damage relationships and create a toxic environment.
It's a reminder that words have power, and we need to be mindful of the energy we're putting out into the world.
Absolutely.
Gossip and negativity might seem harmless in the moment, but they can create a ripple effect of bad vibes.
Right. And it's not about being fake or overly positive. It's about choosing our words carefully and focusing on building people up rather than tearing them down.
Okay, let's look at a habit that might seem like a small linguistic tick,
Right.
but can reveal a lot about our mindset.
Okay.
Goldsmith calls it starting sentences with no but or however. Now I'm someone who loves a good debate, so I'm a little worried about this one.
It's not about avoiding disagreement altogether.
Okay.
It's about recognizing how these words when used habitually, can signal a competitive mindset and a resistance to others' ideas.
So instead of approaching a conversation as a battle to be won, we need to shift our mindset to one of collaboration, seeking to find the best solution together.
Exactly. Think about it. How does it feel when someone constantly shoots down your ideas before you've even finished explaining them?
It's deflating, like you're not even being heard.
And that can shut down communication and prevent innovative ideas from emerging.
Right.
So instead of leading with, but,
yeah,
try reframing your response to be more open and inquisitive.
Okay.
Help me understand how that would work in practice. Can be much more productive than a flat-out no.
Okay, let's tackle another habit that can be a real confidence killer.
Okay.
Especially in a work environment. Telling the world how smart we are.
This one is all about resisting the urge to show off or one-up others.
Right.
Goldsmith illustrates it with a simple but powerful anecdote.
Okay.
Imagine an assistant bringing a document to their boss.
Okay.
And the boss responds with, I already knew that.
Ugh. I can practically feel the assistant's eye roll from here.
Yeah.
It's such a subtle put down.
It is.
Making them feel like their efforts were pointless.
It creates a dynamic where the focus is on proving your own intelligence rather than fostering a collaborative and supportive environment.
So it's not about dumbing ourselves down or pretending we don't know things.
Right.
It's about recognizing that knowledge is meant to be shared. Not hoarded as a way to assert dominance.
Exactly. Instead of trying to impress others with our brilliance, we can focus on using our knowledge to help others learn and grow.
Okay, onto a habit that can be incredibly demotivating.
Okay.
Failing to give recognition. We all crave appreciation and acknowledgement, right?
I do.
But how often do we actually take the time to express gratitude to the people who deserve it?
This one is all about recognizing and appreciating the contributions of others.
Right.
And Goldsmith beautifully describes it as the beautiful ribbon wrapped around the jewel box that contains the precious gift of success.
Without that ribbon, the gift feels incomplete, right? Like the effort wasn't truly valued.
And in today's fast-paced world,
yeah,
it's so easy to get caught up in our own tasks and deadlines.
Right.
That we forget to acknowledge the hard work of the people around us.
So how do we get better at giving recognition?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to know we should do it, but it's another thing to make it a regular practice.
Goldsmith highlights a technique one of his clients used.
Okay.
Which involves creating a list of people we want to thank. And making a conscious effort to express our gratitude regularly.
Okay.
It could be a simple thank you note.
Right.
A thoughtful message. Or even just a sincere, I appreciate your hard work in person.
It's about making recognition a habit.
Exactly.
Not just a random act of kindness.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Sometimes the smallest acts of appreciation can have the biggest impact.
Okay, let's talk about a habit that can be a real morale killer. Claiming credit we don't deserve. This one seems pretty straightforward. But I imagine it can be tempting to inflate our role in a success.
Yeah.
Especially in a competitive environment.
It's a common pitfall.
Right.
Especially when the lines of responsibility are blurred.
Yeah.
And it's not entirely clear who deserves the credit.
So how do we navigate those situations where it's truly a team effort? How do we make sure everyone gets the recognition they deserve?
It's about being honest and transparent about our contributions.
Okay.
And acknowledging the contributions of others. Did someone offer a key insight that helped shape the project?
Yeah.
Did a colleague go above and beyond to meet a deadline?
Right.
Make sure their efforts are recognized?
It's about shining the spotlight on the people who helped make the success possible.
Exactly.
Not hogging it all for ourselves.
Exactly. And it's not about diminishing our own contributions.
Right.
It's about recognizing that success is often a collaborative effort. And we should celebrate the collective achievement rather than trying to claim individual glory.
Okay, now for a habit that can be incredibly frustrating to deal with, both in personal and professional settings, making excuses. We all know those people who always have a reason why something wasn't their fault, right?
It's a defense mechanism.
Right.
A way to protect our ego and avoid taking responsibility for our actions. Goldsmith divides excuses into two categories.
Okay.
Blunt and subtle.
Give me an example of each.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear the difference.
A blunt excuse might sound like,
yeah,
I'm sorry I missed our lunch date.
Yeah.
My assistant had it marked down for the wrong day on my calendar.
So we're blaming someone else, even if it's not explicitly stated.
Exactly. And a subtle excuse might be something like,
Okay.
I'm sorry I'm late for the meeting.
Yeah.
I left early. But the traffic was much worse than I anticipated.
So we're shifting the blame to external factors beyond our control.
Right. And while traffic can certainly be a legitimate reason for being late, it's the underlying pattern of excuse-making that can be problematic.
It's about recognizing when we're defaulting to excuses. Instead of taking ownership of our actions and the consequences that follow.
And that shift in accountability can be incredibly empowering.
Right.
It allows us to learn from our mistakes and make better choices in the future.
Okay, let's discuss a habit that can be deeply ingrained and challenging to overcome. Clinging to outdated beliefs. This reminds me of the I have succeeded belief trap, where we hold on to beliefs that might have served us well in the past, but are no longer relevant or helpful.
It's a natural human tendency to seek comfort in the familiar. But sometimes we need to be willing to let go of outdated beliefs to make room for new growth and possibilities.
Goldsmith shares a personal story about his own belief.
He does.
That he lacked mechanical skills, which stemmed from his upbringing and early experiences.
He had this fixed mindset, believing he was simply not mechanically inclined, which prevented him from even trying to learn new skills.
But then he had a realization, that this belief was self-imposed and not based on any real evidence.
Exactly. He realized he was clinging to an outdated narrative that was no longer serving him. And once he challenged that belief, he opened himself up to new possibilities and discovered that he was capable of much more than he thought.
It's a powerful reminder that our beliefs shape our reality.
They do.
And we have the power to choose beliefs that empower us rather than limit us.
It's about recognizing that we are constantly evolving. And our beliefs need to evolve along with us.
Okay, let's talk about a habit that can be especially prevalent in today's hyper-connected world. Playing favorites.
This one is about recognizing that our time and attention are valuable resources. And we need to be mindful of how we distribute them. Goldsmith uses the analogy of a dog who gets more attention than family members. Simply because the dog is always happy to see us.
So we might inadvertently favor the people who are easiest to deal with or who provide us with the most positive reinforcement, even if they're not the ones who need our attention the most.
It's like we're subconsciously creating a hierarchy of relationships based on convenience and emotional gratification.
And that can lead to resentment and damaged relationships with those who feel overlooked or undervalued.
Exactly. It's about being aware of our tendencies to play favorites. And making a conscious effort to be more equitable in our interactions with others.
So resist the urge to prioritize the easy relationships and make sure we're investing time and energy in the relationships that truly matter. Even if they're more challenging.
It's about being intentional with our relationship. And making sure we're nurturing the connections that support our growth and well-being.
Okay, let's tackle a habit that can be surprisingly difficult to admit. Refusing to express gratitude. It seems so simple.
It does.
But I think we often take the good things in our lives for granted and forget to acknowledge the people who make them possible.
This one is about acknowledging the kindness and generosity of others. And expressing our appreciation in a meaningful way. Gratitude has been shown to have numerous benefits. Both for the giver and the receiver.
It's about recognizing that we don't achieve success in isolation. There are always people who support us, encourage us, and contribute to our journey.
Exactly. And expressing gratitude is a way to acknowledge those contributions and strengthen those bonds. Goldsmith suggests making a list of people we're grateful for. And regularly checking in with ourselves to see if there's anyone we should thank.
It's about making gratitude a conscious practice, not just a fleeting feeling.
And it can be as simple as writing a thank you note. Sending a thoughtful message, or simply expressing your appreciation in person. These small gestures can have a lasting impact.
Okay, let's talk about a habit that can create a culture of fear and silence. Punishing the messenger. This one resonates with me, especially in a work environment where people might be afraid to speak up for fear of retaliation.
It's about recognizing that feedback, even when it's negative, is valuable information that can help us improve.
Goldsmith emphasizes the importance of creating an environment where people feel safe to share their thoughts and concerns without fear of reprisal.
It's about separating the message from the messenger, right?
Exactly.
Just because we don't like what we're hearing doesn't mean the person delivering the message is at fault.
Exactly. And when we punish the messenger,
Right.
we create a culture of silence
Uh-huh.
where people are afraid to speak up, even when they see something wrong.
So instead of getting defensive or lashing out, we can try to understand the message, consider its validity, and thank the person for bringing it to our attention.
It's about being open to feedback, even when it's uncomfortable, and recognizing that it can be a valuable tool for growth and improvement.
Okay, let's move on to a habit that can erode trust and accountability.
Okay.
Passing the buck.
This one is about taking responsibility for our actions and resisting the urge to blame others when things go wrong.
Goldsmith points out that passing the buck is one of the most damaging behaviors for a leader. As it undermines their credibility and erodes the trust of their team.
It's about owning our mistakes,
That's right.
And not trying to shift the blame to someone else.
Exactly. When we pass the buck, we're essentially saying that we're not accountable for our actions. Which can create a culture of blame and defensiveness.
So instead of pointing fingers or making excuses, we can take ownership of the mistake. Apologize for any harm caused. And focus on finding solutions.
It's about demonstrating integrity and taking responsibility for our actions. Even when it's difficult.
And finally, let's discuss a habit that can be a driving force behind many of the other negative behaviors. Goal obsession.
This one is about recognizing that goals, while important, are not the only measure of success. Goldsmith argues that an obsessive focus on goals can lead to a myopic perspective, where we lose sight of the bigger picture and sacrifice important values in the pursuit of achievement.
So we might become so fixated on the outcome that we lose sight of the process and the impact our actions have on others.
Exactly. Goldsmith used the example of a marketing executive who was so driven to be a star that she claimed credit for everything, even when she didn't deserve it. Her goal obsession led her to behave in ways that ultimately undermined her success and damaged her relationships.
So how do we find that balance between striving for goals and maintaining our integrity and well-being? Because I think we all have goals we're passionate about, but we don't want to become so consumed by them that we lose sight of what truly matters.
It's about recognizing that goals are a tool, not a destination. It's about making sure our goals align with our values, and that we're pursuing them in a way that's healthy and sustainable.
So it's not about abandoning goals altogether. It's about approaching them with a sense of perspective and balance. Making sure they enhance our lives rather than consume them.
Exactly. And that might involve reevaluating our goals, adjusting our approach, or even letting go of goals that are no longer serving us.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored Goldsmith's concept of belief traps, and we've unpacked 10 of the 20 annoying habits he outlines in his book. It's been eye-opening to see how these seemingly small behaviors can have such a big impact on our success and well-being.
It's all about awareness, isn't it? Once we recognize these habits in ourselves, we can start to make conscious choices to change them.
Absolutely. But knowing is only half the battle. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore Goldsmith's strategies for actually changing these habits, including his powerful framework for giving and receiving feedback.
It's about moving beyond simply identifying the problem and taking action to create positive change. And I think you'll find Goldsmith's approach to be incredibly practical and insightful.
Great. Well, we will look forward to that conversation in part 2.
Sounds good. So far, we've been dissecting the why behind these success traps, the beliefs and habits that can hold us back. But now, let's get into the how. How we can actually break free and move forward.
That's what I'm most curious about. It's one thing to recognize these habits in ourselves, but it's a whole other challenge to actually change them.
Goldsmith offers a really practical framework for change. And it starts with getting honest feedback from the people around us. This is where things can get a little uncomfortable, but it's crucial for gaining self-awareness.
Feedback can be tough to swallow, especially for those of us who are used to being the ones giving advice, not receiving it.
That's why creating a safe and structured environment for feedback is so important. When I work with coaching clients, I gather confidential feedback from their colleagues. But before I even start the interviews, I ask each person to commit to 4 key principles. the 4 commitments.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break down these 4 commitments.
Sure.
What's the first one?
The first commitment is to let go of the past.
Okay.
We're not dredging up old grievances or dwelling on past mistakes.
Right.
The focus is on the present and future.
So it's about creating a clean slate.
Yeah.
Allowing for a fresh perspective without the baggage of past conflicts.
Exactly. The second commitment is to tell the truth.
Okay.
Honest, candid feedback is essential for growth.
Right.
Sugarcoating or holding back doesn't help anyone.
Honesty can be hard.
It is.
Both for the giver and the receiver.
Yeah.
But I can see how it's essential for identifying those blind spots we talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The third commitment is to be supportive and helpful.
Okay.
Not cynical or negative.
Right.
It's about framing the feedback in a way that's constructive and focused on solutions.
This sounds like a delicate balance, being truthful without being harsh.
Isn't it?
Offering criticism without being demoralizing.
It's a skill that takes practice.
Right.
Instead of simply criticizing,
Yeah.
we can offer suggestions for how the person can improve.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
instead of saying, "You always interrupt in meetings,"
Right.
we might say,
Yeah.
"I've noticed that you sometimes jump in with ideas before others have finished speaking."
Okay.
Perhaps you could try pausing for a few seconds before sharing your thoughts.
That's a great example. It's about offering actionable advice rather than just pointing out flaws.
Exactly. And the fourth commitment,
Yeah.
which I find particularly powerful,
Yeah.
is for the person giving feedback to pick something to improve themselves.
Interesting. Why is this important?
It shifts the focus from judgment to growth.
Okay.
It's a reminder that we're all works in progress,
Uh-huh.
and we can all benefit from self-reflection and improvement.
So it creates a sense of shared accountability. We're all in this together, striving to become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
No one is perfect, and everyone has areas where they can grow.
Precisely.
Uh-huh.
And it helps prevent the feedback process from feeling like a one-sided attack.
Right.
It's a shared journey of growth and development.
Okay, so these 4 commitments create a framework for honest, constructive, and supportive feedback.
Right.
But once we've gathered this feedback,
Yeah.
how do we turn it into actionable steps for change?
That's where feed forward comes in.
Okay.
It's a brilliant concept that Goldsmith emphasizes throughout his work.
Okay, I've heard this term, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it.
Okay.
How is feed forward different from traditional feedback?
It's a subtle but powerful shift in perspective.
Okay.
Traditional feedback often focuses on past mistakes.
Yeah.
What you did wrong,
Right.
how you messed up.
Uh.
Feed forward, on the other hand,
Yeah.
looks to the future.
So it's about learning from the past, but not dwelling on it.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on what we can do differently going forward.
Exactly. And there are 4 steps involved in the feed forward process.
Okay.
First, we pick one behavior we want to change.
Okay.
It's important to focus on one thing at a time,
Right.
as trying to change too many things at once can be overwhelming.
Okay, so choose your battle wisely.
Right.
Don't try to overhaul your entire personality overnight.
Right. Pick one area where you feel there's room for improvement, and that will have a significant positive impact on your life.
Okay.
Second, we describe this objective to someone we trust.
Okay.
It could be a colleague, friend, mentor, or family member.
So we're making a public commitment to change, which
Yeah.
can help increase accountability.
Exactly. It's like having a workout buddy.
Right.
When we know someone else is aware of our goals,
Uh-huh.
we're more likely to stay motivated and on track.
Okay, what's the third step?
We ask for suggestions for how we can improve in this area.
Okay.
We're actively seeking input and guidance from others,
Right.
recognizing that we don't have all the answers.
This is where humility comes into play, right?
Absolutely.
Being willing to admit that we need help and being open to suggestions from others, even those who might not be in positions of authority.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that the people we ask for suggestions might have different perspectives and experiences than we do,
Right.
which can lead to fresh insights and solutions.
Okay, so we've picked a behavior to change,
Uh-huh.
shared our goal with someone we trust,
Right.
and asked for suggestions.
Yeah.
What's the final step?
We listen to their suggestions without judgment or defensiveness.
Okay.
This is crucial. It can be tempting to dismiss suggestions that we don't agree with
Yeah,
or that make us feel uncomfortable.
right.
But it's important to remember that the person offering the suggestion is doing so with the intention of helping us improve.
So we need to set aside our ego and truly listen with an open mind,
Exactly.
considering the validity of their suggestions, even if they challenge our assumptions.
Exactly. And even if we don't end up implementing all of their suggestions.
Right.
The process of listening and considering different perspectives can be incredibly valuable in itself. It helps us see ourselves from a different angle and gain a deeper understanding of how our behavior impacts others.
Goldsmith emphasizes that feed-forward is particularly effective for successful people.
Yes.
Because it's less personal and less likely to trigger defensiveness than traditional feedback.
Right.
Why is that?
Successful people are often used to being right.
Uh-huh.
They've achieved a certain level of success.
Right.
So they might assume that their way of doing things is the best way.
Yeah.
Traditional feedback, which often focuses on what they did wrong,
right,
can feel like a personal attack.
Yeah.
Triggering defensiveness and resistance.
It challenges their sense of self-worth, their identity as a successful person.
Right. Feed forward, on the other hand, sidesteps that ego threat.
Okay.
It's not about pointing out flaws.
Right.
It's about exploring possibilities for improvement. It's about framing the conversation in a way that's positive and future-oriented.
Okay.
Which is much more appealing to someone who's driven to achieve.
So it's not about dwelling on the past. It's about embracing the potential for growth and improvement.
Exactly.
And it's a much more empowering approach, especially for people who are already accustomed to success.
Goldsmith tells a wonderful story about two monks and a woman.
Okay.
To illustrate the power of focusing on future actions rather than dwelling on past mistakes.
Okay.
Have you heard this story before?
I don't think so. Tell me more.
Two monks were on a journey when they came to a river.
Okay.
A woman was standing by the riverbank, unable to cross because the current was too strong.
Okay.
One of the monks, seeing her distress, picked her up and carried her across the river.
So he acted with compassion, putting her needs before his own.
Exactly. But the other monk was furious. He reminded his friend that they had taken a vow forbidding them from touching a woman.
Okay.
The first monk simply smiled and continued on his journey.
Okay.
Later that night, as they were preparing for bed, the second monk was still fuming.
Oh, no.
Ranting about how his friend had broken a sacred vow.
He was clinging to the past.
Yeah.
Unable to let go of the transgression.
And the first monk simply replied,
Okay.
I set her down by the riverbank hours ago.
Yeah.
Why are you still carrying her?
Wow, that's such a powerful analogy.
It is.
It's a reminder that we can't change the past.
Right.
But we can choose how we respond to it and what we do going forward.
Exactly. And it's a great way to illustrate the essence of feed forward.
Right.
It's about learning from the past but not being weighed down by it. It's about embracing the possibility of change and taking action to create a better future.
Okay, so we've got the feedback piece and the feed-forward strategy.
Right.
What else is important to keep in mind as we embark on this journey of habit change?
One crucial aspect that Goldsmith highlights is the importance of focusing on the right things to change.
Okay.
It's not just about changing any habit.
Right.
It's about choosing the habit that will have the most significant positive impact on our lives.
This makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about prioritizing our efforts, focusing on the areas where change will make the biggest difference.
Right.
But how do we determine which habit deserves our attention first?
Goldsmith uses the example of a CFO who was more concerned with improving his physical fitness than addressing his interpersonal skills.
Interesting.
He was choosing to focus on a relatively minor issue while neglecting a more significant problem that was impacting his relationships and its effectiveness as a leader.
So he was picking the low-hanging fruit, the habit that was easier to change,
Yeah.
rather than tackling the tougher challenge that would have yielded greater rewards.
That's a common trap.
Right.
We might focus on the things that are easiest to change or that we feel most comfortable addressing, while avoiding the more difficult or uncomfortable issues that might be holding us back.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap? How do we make sure we're focusing on the right things?
It goes back to feedback.
Okay.
Goldsmith suggests gathering feedback from trusted colleagues and looking for patterns in their responses.
Okay.
What are the common themes? What are the recurring issues that keep coming up?
So we're looking for the signal in the noise.
Yeah.
We might have our own perceptions of where we need to improve,
Right.
but it's the consistent feedback from others that reveals our true blind spots.
Exactly. And it's important to be honest with ourselves about the feedback we're receiving.
Right.
It can be tempting to dismiss negative feedback or rationalize it away.
Yeah.
But it's precisely the feedback that makes us uncomfortable that might hold the most valuable insights.
It's about being willing to face those uncomfortable truths about ourselves and recognizing that those are the areas where the greatest potential for growth lies.
And it's not about striving for perfection. It's about continuous improvement, always striving to become better versions of ourselves.
So gathering feedback, identifying the right things to change, and embracing feed forward are all crucial steps in the process of personal and professional growth.
They are.
But Goldsmith emphasizes that it's not just about achieving external success.
Right.
It's about finding meaning and fulfillment in all aspects of our lives.
That's a key point. Goldsmith's work goes beyond traditional self-help advice.
Okay.
By encouraging us to consider what truly matters in life and to align our actions with our values.
And he highlights the importance of remembering what matters.
He does.
Particularly as we get caught up in the pursuit of success and achievement.
Exactly. And this involves taking a step back from the daily grind.
Right.
And reflecting on our priorities.
Yeah.
What are we working towards? What are we striving for?
Right.
And are those goals aligned with what we truly value?
So it's about checking in with ourselves regularly to make sure we're not sacrificing our well-being or neglecting our relationships in the pursuit of external success.
That's right. Goldsmith shares insights from interviews with people on their deathbeds.
Okay.
Who often regret not spending more time with loved ones or pursuing their passions.
It's a sobering reminder that time is our most precious resource, and we need to be mindful of how we're spending it.
It is.
And it highlights the importance of making choices that align with our values and priorities, rather than simply reacting to the demands of our jobs or the expectations of others.
Exactly.
So it's about living a life that's both successful and fulfilling, both professionally and personally.
Exactly. And that requires ongoing effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to course correct when we find ourselves veering off course.
And Goldsmith provides a comprehensive set of tools and strategies to help us navigate this journey of personal and professional growth.
Absolutely. And one of the most valuable tools he offers is the concept of behavioral beliefs, which can help us understand the underlying motivations behind our actions and identify the beliefs that might be limiting our potential.
Okay, let's dive into this concept of behavioral beliefs.
Okay.
It sounds fascinating.
Goldsmith identifies 7 key behavioral beliefs that can drive our actions.
Okay.
And understanding these beliefs can be incredibly insightful in helping us change our behavior.
Okay.
The first belief is, I have succeeded.
We touched on this earlier, how this belief can make us resistant to change. Right?
Exactly. If we're clinging to the idea that our past successes are a guarantee of future success, we might miss opportunities for growth and development.
So it's about recognizing that the world is constantly changing.
Right.
And what worked yesterday might not work today.
Right. The second belief is, I can succeed.
And this one can lead to overconfidence, right? We might overestimate our abilities or underestimate the challenges we face.
Precisely. And this can lead to setbacks and disappointments. It's about finding a balance between confidence and humility. Recognizing our strengths while acknowledging our limitations.
So it's about being open to learning and growth.
Yes.
Even when we're at the top of our game.
Exactly. The third belief is, I will succeed.
And we talked about how this belief can be a double-edged sword, right? Great for motivation.
Yeah.
But it can also lead to burnout and overcommitment.
That's right. It's about making sure our drive for success doesn't come at the expense of our well-being or our relationships.
So setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care are essential.
Absolutely. The fourth belief is, I choose to succeed.
This one sounds like it emphasizes personal agency and responsibility.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have control over our choices and actions.
Okay.
And we're ultimately responsible for the outcomes we create.
So it's about empowering ourselves to make choices that align with our goals and values.
Precisely. The fifth belief is, I deserve to succeed.
This one sounds like it could be a bit tricky. It's important to believe in our worthiness. But it can also tip over into entitlement, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot between recognizing our value and maintaining a sense of humility and gratitude.
So it's not about demanding success. It's about working towards it while recognizing that we're not entitled to anything.
Right. And it's important to acknowledge that success is often influenced by factors outside of our control.
Right.
Like luck or timing.
So it's about doing our best while accepting that we can't control everything.
Exactly. The sixth belief is, I'm never going to succeed.
This one sounds like the opposite of I will succeed.
It is.
It's a belief in failure, a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
And this belief can be incredibly limiting.
Right.
Preventing us from even trying to achieve our goals.
So it's about challenging those negative thoughts and replacing them with more positive and empowering beliefs.
Right. And recognizing that setbacks and failures are a natural part of the journey.
Yeah.
Not a reflection of our worthiness or ability.
So resilience and perseverance are key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the seventh belief is life isn't fair.
This one sounds a bit cynical, but I guess there's some truth to it, right?
There is.
We don't always get what we deserve, and sometimes bad things happen to good people.
That's right. But the danger with this belief is that it can lead to a sense of helplessness and resignation.
Yeah.
We might give up on our dreams or stop trying to improve our lives because we believe it's all pointless.
So it's about acknowledging the reality that life isn't always fair,
Right.
but not letting that belief paralyze us or prevent us from taking action.
Exactly. And it's about focusing on what we can control, which is our own choices and actions.
So these 7 behavioral beliefs provide a powerful framework for understanding the motivations behind our actions and identifying the beliefs that might be limiting our potential.
Absolutely.
And by becoming aware of these beliefs,
Yeah.
we can start to challenge them,
Yeah.
shift our mindset, and create more positive and empowering narratives for ourselves.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
It's like we've been given a toolkit to not only identify our own blind spots,
Yeah.
but also understand why we might be clinging to those less than ideal behaviors.
And remember, change is a process.
Right.
It takes time, effort, and a willingness to be honest with ourselves about the areas where we can improve.
Yeah.
But with the right tools and strategies, we can break free from the habits that are holding us back and create a more fulfilling and successful life.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple beliefs can have such a profound impact on our behavior, isn't it?
They really do.
It makes you realize that real change starts with examining our own thoughts and assumptions.
Absolutely. And I think this is where Goldsmith's work really shines.
Right.
He doesn't just tell us to change our habits.
Right.
He gives us the tools to understand the deeper motivations behind those habits.
Right. It's like he's giving us a map to navigate the often uncharted territory of our own minds.
And speaking of maps,
one of the things that struck me in the book was Goldsmith's emphasis on remembering what truly matters in life, particularly as we get caught up in the pursuit of success and achievement.
that's such a crucial point. It's so easy to lose sight of the bigger picture
Right.
when we're focused on deadlines,
Yeah.
goals,
Uh-huh.
and external validation.
And Goldsmith shares some incredibly poignant insights from interviews with people on their deathbeds.
He does.
Their reflections offer a powerful perspective on what truly matters, don't they?
It's a humbling reminder that life is precious,
Right.
and we need to be intentional about how we're spending our time and energy.
The people he interviewed often expressed regret for not spending more time with loved ones, pursuing their passions, or simply living in the moment.
Right.
It's a wake-up call for all of us, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's about recognizing that success and achievement are meaningless
Right.
if we're not also cultivating meaningful relationships, pursuing our passions, and living a life that's true to ourselves.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly.
Between striving for success and savoring the journey. Between achieving our goals and nurturing our souls.
Exactly. It's about defining success on our own terms,
Right.
not letting society dictate what should be important to us.
I think that's a powerful message to end on. It's not about abandoning ambition or settling for mediocrity.
No.
It's about aligning our actions with our values and making sure that our pursuit of success doesn't come at the expense of what truly matters.
Well said. And I think Goldsmith provides a roadmap for doing just that.
Right.
By understanding our behavioral beliefs,
Uh-huh.
challenging our limiting habits, and embracing the power of feed forward,
Right.
we can create a more fulfilling and successful life.
This deep dive into what got you here won't get you. There's been incredibly insightful.
It has.
I know, I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on success.
I'm glad.
And a renewed commitment to focusing on what truly matters.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning of the journey.
Right.
Keep exploring these concepts. Keep challenging yourself.
Yeah.
And keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
And to you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked some new insights and inspired you to take action in your own life.
I hope so.
Remember, change starts with awareness.
It does.
And even small shifts in behavior can create a ripple effect of positive change.
Absolutely.
So, what will you choose to change today? Think about it and keep diving deeper.